being proposed. So I will just go through it, and if we have any other thing to discuss, like we can discuss later. So the first thing is
Sorry. Small
sorry.
disclaimer: the recording has started.
Sorry?
The recording. So
Yes.
the screen and the audio is being recorded.
Okay. From your side, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the first topic is Matt Droder. He's, I don't know if you everyone knows him. He's like leader of ROS Agriculture. So he proposed a very good initiative that we should create like a montage collection of clips showing ROS usage in agriculture. So I would just like to let people know about this initiative so that we can see if anyone is interested to provide like clips showing your, I don't know, your work using ROS in agricultural context. So the guideline is I don't know if you have seen this post on ROS discourse. If you haven't seen it, I just sort of copy paste all the information here. So the guideline is to for this video submission is just some short clips. Like the good example for this montage will be like this. Should I show this or I just keep it here? So if you want to watch, you can search it for yourself later. I don't know. Does anyone want
I
to
think we can take a look later. Yeah.
take a look later, right? So I won't show it. So it's just like really just like montage collection of many clips together. And also simulation is good because I think with this COVID whatever situation, maybe it's difficult for people really work with real robots. So if you also have done any work or any things related with agriculture, I think you can also submit that. I mean, personally, I will try to submit my simulation with my work with farming simulator. So I won't say you cannot submit your simulation. So and the deadline is 31st of October. So that will be next Friday, I guess. Yes, next Friday or Saturday. Next Saturday. So and this is the link that you can upload the clips. So is there any? I'm just curious if there's anyone interested, or is there anyone who would like to submit this? I mean, would like to share your work or showcase your. Actually, guys, I don't actually know if Matt is going to show this montage collection during the ROSCOM, or it's just like a promotion for the usage of ROS in agriculture.
I'm not sure about whether it will be shown on ROS World either. But in any case, I would say it's going to be definitely promotion for the use of ROS in agriculture. I think it's also important to understand that, or at least keep in mind that it's not promotion for ROS agriculture, as in the project itself. It's much wider. It's basically anything that has to do anything with ROS, but then in an agricultural setting.
Yeah,
There were some questions on ROS discourse about this. I think it's just
yeah.
important
I think it's a
to
bit like yeah, because if there's one person asked this question as oh is this just for our I don't know selfish promotion or why should we even promote this? I mean it just doesn't sound right. I mean it's just a annual biggest ROS event and it's like a perfect period to showcase the variety of robots like using ROS. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to confirm, like this video would be accessible on like a Vimeo or like OSRF account or like an account that anyone would be able to share later on to encourage people to develop robots for agriculture, right?
Yes, it would basically be
Yes.
similar to the 10-year montage that we have from the OSRF, for instance.
Why can
Perfect.
yeah, so that's it. I think there's not much. If there's no, I mean, there's just information. It's just a news, so there's nothing to talk about. And because the next one, like the next topic should be covered by Christoph. He's a guy from Fraunhofer IPA. And he told me that there might be a potential track on agriculture application during the coming ROS-Industrial Conference, but he's not here and none of his colleagues here, so I don't know I don't actually know like what do they plan for this event.
When is
I
it?
don't know. Um, I think December. Is it? Gijs, do
Yeah,
you
so
know?
the ROS-Industrial Conference is, let me just quickly look it up because we changed the dates. But it is in December. It's mostly going to be on actually. Time was talking
Wait, is
I
my
don't know
problem?
if
I couldn't hear you.
in
yes, we couldn't hear you.
this this is for
Guys,
me.
I think you have poor connection or something. We couldn't hear like your voice was like fading in and fading out.
Oh, sorry. I'll I have a noise canceling microphone here, so it sometimes decides that I'm just noise. So it just no. It's December the 15th and December the 16th.
December.
Will it be held online, or will there be a physical event?
Yeah, so it's a virtual event. I'll paste the link in the chat so you can look it up.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So as Karen said, that we're currently figuring out whether it makes sense to add an agricultural track. Obviously, yeah, with a virtual event, you have to sort of, I would say, be careful not to make it too long. So depending on how much interest there is in a agricultural track, with which I mean how many people actually would be interested in presenting anything, because that's I would say the limiting factor. We might or might not actually add it because the program is already quite full actually. So it depends a bit. So if you are really interested in this, not just obviously to see what others are doing, but also to actually present something of your own work, I would definitely recommend you get in touch with, well, either me or Christoph directly at Fraunhofer IPA, because that will be a good way to sort of for us to realize that there's sufficient interest in setting up such a track. But in general, we're trying to broaden the scope of ROS-Industrial Conference a little bit to just essentially take or accept any sort of content which is not sort of purely a hobby use of ROS. So that's sort of the discriminating factor for the industrial side of things. So it has to have like proper use, potentially or even preferably in commercial environments, I would say. And agricultural obviously fits that completely.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
I'll quickly send a message to Christoph. Maybe he can still join.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, that's all. I don't know about this event, but the Gijs is involved in ROS Industrial. So if you have question, you can like ask him more later. So the next one, Ilias, would you like to like present the short event that you said that you would like to host? So we would also like to know what is that, because I think there's not much happening here on either ROS Discourse or I don't know whatever Slack thing.
Okay, so
Yeah, the floor is yours. I would like you to speak.
the idea was it's about a bit what we've talked about last time. The fact that we need an event or we need a project or we need something to get people involved, because right now we, apart from wanting ROS agriculture to take off, we don't really have something to work on, and that makes it a bit hard, I think. So when we had our last meeting, we were still in the middle of the Corona crisis. I mean, the beginning. We are still in the middle of this. But now we have a more clear vision, a bit more clear. So the idea of the event is to organize a hackathon. One of the goals, current goals, they might change, but it's to try it in 2 days to have, I don't know if that's realistic, but to have a simple 4-wheel robot that can gather data, field data. So it could be from different types of sensors. And that would be the first step.
Yes, but in which environment? Like, I don't know, like in the big farm, open field, or just, I don't know, like the greenhouse or something like that.
So for the data gathering, I actually didn't think about this. I was thinking about more of a field, more of an open field, but for the prototype, if we get it to work indoors, that would already be good.
Indoors. Okay.
So,
And-
Cleos, it's a nice idea. Have you thought about maybe contributing to the lawn tractor project that we have in ROS Agriculture on the US side?
There isn't, from what I've seen, there isn't a big, how's it called? Defined project from what I've seen. I mean, milestones, for example, there aren't milestones or any. So I would love to have this hackathon be part of a bigger project, but I don't know how.
Oh, sorry. Can someone who is typing?
Mika, yeah.
Oh. Very sorry, guys. I just joined you again and forgot to mute.
Okay.
So, Elias, I just pasted the link to the GitHub repository that contains the lawn tractor sources. I'm not saying that we should do necessarily this. I'm just wondering whether that might make sense, because there are actually a lot of people, there are some people on the US side working on this. And to already start something different seems a bit of I mean, you can do it, but it's a bit of a divergence. And seeing as there aren't that many people who are actually contributing stuff, it may make sense to try and strengthen the people that are actually already doing this. So support them and have them support us instead of restarting something, right? Would you agree?
On my side, I agree. Actually, that's a good idea. We could have a hackathon of building a tractor to work on it afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's good, like, so that we don't, reinvent the wheel, and actually we can also cooperate with people from America. I mean, United States. I think they're doing lots, like, they're people there. They are doing lots of like really hands-on, like experiments. Like that is the thing that I think lacks in. I mean, at least from ROS Agriculture Europe side, because we don't really like those people, those users. They are farmers, so they really actually have their tractor so that they can play with, but we don't really have it here. So I don't know, like, I think we need sponsors, or I don't know, is there other good source that we can get it from help? I mean, if it's really need to deal with the robots, but we don't have hardware. I mean, and also because of the coronavirus, I don't know if like is it allowed to have this kind of big event where it has only like we can only do it online, like the virtual one, so using simulation, etc.
We will probably not be allowed to have big events like 30 or 60 people, but small events, I guess. I mean, depends on the country, but up to 10 people, I guess that's possible. Shouldn't this be our goal? Like to get some hardware so that we can have
definitely
to work on?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, like, Gijs, do you know that at Tutor do we have any like robots, like I don't know, like in the agricultural context, like tractors or whatever, just some harvester.
Well, I don't think we have a harvester just lying around. I mean,
I don't know. I
it's
mean,
not
maybe in
cheap
robot
hardware,
house
right?
we have.
So no, but in essence, this is basically I think the defining characteristic here is it's an Ackermann platform. So depending on what your actual goals are, I would say any Ackermann steering platform would be okay. But I'm just wondering whether, for instance, just starting out with simulation would not be something we can do earlier. I mean, it's really difficult now to set up anything in person. Apart from the fact that obviously we're geographically distributed, so travel is essentially impossible as well. Uh, Infection rates are rising again, so I don't see this changing before the end of the year. Hardware is also expensive, so that's also another limiting factor. While the lawn tractor exists, both physical in a physical form and in simulation, we could immediately start using that. So ideally, I would say we would actually start using the lawnmower tractor, or set up some other sort of simulation, which is more sort of suited for whatever purpose we have. And that would actually be my second question to Elias. What's your long term goal? I mean, put it together a tractor is nice, but what would be the long term goal?
I don't know. I haven't thought about this. I mean, my personal long-term goal is to work in the robotics agricultural industry, but this is the few years goal. But for this, I guess my goal is to just have a community, to build a community, a robust or resilient community that can work on this kind of European one, that can work on this kind of problems.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, but I think it would be good. Like the long term goal is to attract more people, and also for this kind of hackathon, I think especially for students, like we can attract more talents, and also if we can get sponsors from like tech company, so I don't know, it can like they can demonstrate what is the technical possibilities or challenge in their, in the industrial side, so that we don't just sort of only stuck in our ivory tower, so that we can have cooperation with R&D and tech companies.
But we need some kind of structure to get sponsors.
And yeah, that's the thing. But that would. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I do understand what you mean, but I mean, it's ambitious goal, but I think it's necessary when the time comes. Otherwise, we would just always be only 5 people join our like community and nothing really going further. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I always think that money is really important to support like the community. So I mean, we are trying at least from our side, we are trying to contact one of I don't know if you remember, I present my farming simulator, our farming simulator demo. So like we would like to contact the company who created this video game, and it's in the agricultural context. So maybe they will be interested to cooperate, or I don't know, just sponsor, be one of the sponsor, etc. Because what we are doing right now, we can do the SLAM in farm sim. We can do the navigation in farm sim. So I think that would be really impressive to them. So maybe they will be interested to have cooperation with us. So I'm just saying, my point is that it's just an example of how to attract companies. Like you address some new ideas or something to them, or maybe I don't know, some crazy ideas like you would like to do, and you just show them some proof of concept. So maybe they will say, okay, great. Like maybe that will be also I don't know, I wouldn't say lucrative, but I mean it's it's a nice thing to work on or to start just with a little bit of money or something like. And I mean, eventually, I think ROS or whatever, all this AI, it's like an ultimate goal for all the tech companies. So that's my opinion.
So we could do it in two ways, right? Either you get money and then start thinking of things to do with the money, or you already think of things to do with money and then try to get money. And so the second approach actually also gives you the benefit of having something to show to companies who might be interested in actually collaborating with you. And it doesn't necessarily cost money. I mean, we're already paid anyway, at least on our side. So I'm not dependent on any external companies to sponsor me to do this kind of work. So I think we have, at least on our side, a sort of a head start in the sense that we can actually put together interesting things and use those to attract more interested parties. So then
Yeah.
my question would be to Ilias, for instance. As I said, putting together a platform is a nice short term goal, but I think it really needs to show, or it needs to be going in the direction of a more longer term goal. And I'm wondering whether we could come up with one now, because that would help structure discussions also a little bit. And so one example, for instance, on the US side, they're currently working with Steve McKenzie from who's leading the Navigation 2 development. And they have a relatively big community, I would say. It's sort of starting to size down a little bit because it was really helped. He did that really clear, in a smart way, I would say. But it was really helped by the whole COVID situation because you had a lot of basically robotics and navigation engineers sort of sitting at home, not being able to do anything anyway. And they just sort of all banded together and started developing or contributing to the development of Navigation 2. So that's in a really good place right now. And what they're currently doing on the US side in ROS Agriculture is essentially putting together a bunch of demonstrators that showcase the use of Navigation 2, so the behavior tree, all the live motion planning, all those things basically, but then in agricultural context. So navigation in unstructured fields, navigation in fields with very little sort of landmarks. So you essentially have some I would say challenges when it comes to localization and path planning, and also actually demonstrating some very specific, I would say, very use cases very specific to agriculture. So basically plowing a field, and they're not actually going to be plowing a field as far as I understood, but it's a specific type of mobile navigation, right, where you just want to follow like linear paths without doing any sort of active obstacle avoidance. You just keep going, and you want to do essentially sort of coverage path planning. And so what they're doing right now on the US side is sort of putting these things together with whatever community they have on the ROS Agriculture side, in combination or in collaboration with the Navigation 2 community, which is I think a bit bigger. So I'm wondering whether we could, for instance, contribute to this same effort, because that would also allow us to gain experience with these kind of setups, and that might make it easier to figure out what a long-term goal would be. Because, for instance, there could be that we identify a gap or something that could be improved, and that could immediately lead to a well, again, a short-term goal, I would say, depending on how difficult it would be to address that need. But it's essentially a way to structure the development, and I think from that you could sort of naturally grow your community a little bit, because you could get more and more people interested in this. I mean, Steve is not necessarily interested in agricultural use of ROS. He's just interested in progressing the state of art in the navigation stack. And if those demonstrators in ROS Agriculture help him do that, that's perfect. But I think that's how you grow that community, essentially. So you try to find people who could help you solve particular problems, and then sort of see whether they would be interested in helping you and potentially stick. I mean, Mikael is here, and he just decided to join based on the fact that he's now working in this area a little bit. So it does seem to work.
So if I understood correctly, you are suggesting that we focus our efforts on one task to get a better understanding of how this works, and this will help us work all together on the same thing.
Well, I think getting a better understanding of the for instance, navigation is essentially a byproduct. But what I'm trying to say is, you can plan all you want, but based on plans, it's very difficult to get people to actually act and interested. So if you have actually something to show, that's much easier, and that's how we did it in ROS-Industrial. We basically just, we could have spent 5 years talking about things, but that's not how you grow a community. Well, maybe some communities, but not this one. And so what we did was we essentially just picked a number of difficult challenges. We solved them in a way using this particular type of technology, and then just showed it to people. And that's how we got other people interested, and that's how organizations got into ROS-Industrial. That's when at some point we decided to set up these consortia, and that's how we got the ball rolling. So that might be a way to do it in ROS Agriculture as well, but that's for the future. What I'm saying is, pick a topic, find a challenge, and start work on that challenge. And I think that's a very organic way to grow a community. At least that's how it worked on the US side. And as a byproduct, you also get insight into how those parts of the technology stack that you're using actually work. And that will also allow you to identify gaps in functionality or in user experience. And that could then lead to identification of additional projects that community members could work on, for instance. So, summary, I think your idea is very good. Pick something, start working on it, and that's how you attract people. The only nuance I had was basically, shall we try not to fragment the small ROS agriculture community that's already there by working on different things immediately? It could be that we identify at some point that it makes sense to work on something else, but right now it seems like the lawn tractor actually makes lots of sense because it's there, it works, there's a simulation, and there are other people working on it.
Okay.
One thing that could be interesting, it may have been discussed like in the past. I remember this idea of like collecting the data sets in agriculture or things like that. One good way to also not fragment community is to try to also provide solutions or explore things that are useful for like the various aspects of agriculture. Like a lot of robotics in agriculture is outdoors, like fields, but now a lot of new tech is like indoor vertical farming or small greenhouses or things like that. And so ideas of getting stuff that people can do from remote, either via simulation or like just with data sets, and that could be beneficial to like the entire scope of agriculture, could also like help people getting interested rather than saying, well, I'm not needing a tractor, and walk away.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and I think it's also one of the big differences between the US side, or maybe a difference between the US side and the European side. On the US side, it's really focused on large farms where you want to have automated vehicles doing a large part of the work. It's also relatively easy to automate that. It sounds a bit arrogant, but I mean, the fields are pretty big, and there's not much on those fields. So if the robot sort of makes a mistake, it'll not immediately run into your shed, for instance. So that's sort of a different approach than having to make everything super nice before you can actually test something out, or super robust, I would say. But it might be that on the European side, there could be a focus on what you just mentioned. So precision farming, things with drones, for instance, but also vertical farming, definitely, and horticulture, maybe even. So not just on fields with tractors and large machinery, but sort of indoor stuff, which is in greenhouses, those kind of things. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, Mikael, for your input. Yeah, so I don't know. So how can we actually start? Like, what would be the like doable actions like for this meeting? Like Elias, like I don't know, like a question for you. So what? How would you start like your initiative?
So first, I take into account your insights to get a more precise idea of the goal to achieve. For example, one hackathon could be the first one could be to get the lawn tractor simulator working and get our hands dirty and even maybe try a few things. So I was part of the Fab Lab student association of at the Université de Nantes, and they might be interested. I know they are interested in robotics, so they don't precisely have an idea. I mean, they like robotics in general. So the idea is to present this event and make them work on this. So that would be the next step on my side.
Yes, and what would be the context? A long tractor just moving around in the whatever indoors, outdoors with like navigation stack or this kind of thing. Or I mean, is there more precise objective for this project?
I don't know.
Or just one student to use ROS. Well, I mean, I'm just saying what would be the thing that you want to achieve on this hackathon?
So on the first one, I guess to get students to work on ROS and to get it working and to get them to introduce them to ROS is already will already be a good goal. For the next ones, which I hope will be possible and take place soon, I don't know yet. I guess that's something. I mean, I would be glad to get your help and insight on what the next step could be. And
yeah, okay, I got it. So I don't know. So I think it makes sense that we talk. I mean, at least I would talk with Matt, is the leader in American side, and to see what kind of thing they already have for their long tractor demo. And I think I've run their simulation before, but it seems like the simulation is not that complete. So maybe that's also the part that, I mean, if I have time, we can try to work together to build a better, I don't know, simulation or something. Yeah, because I don't know, I don't see that much not many demos, especially in agricultural context for gazebo. I mean, especially for the open source, like open repository. I barely saw one. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just because not many people are working on this, and plus, not many people would like to share their work. So I think, I mean, just to shout out at people that, hey, like to make some noise, it will be the first goal, and at least that is more. I mean the doable action for right now. But for the long term, we need to think like what I said, that would be most beneficial for our community to grow.
So just something I was wondering, Mikael, since you brought up vertical farming, for instance, is that something you're currently involved in or looking to get involved in? Or was it just something you happened to remember?
No, that's something I've been interested in for quite some time. But what I'm working right now is micro farms with a good chunk of indoor and a bit of outdoors, but like not on big fields at all, and more like precision farming with precision robots. And so looking at like tinier vehicles and different like types of tools. And so I'm just thinking like it's not the same challenges of like navigation or manipulation as you could have on like big tractors with big tools on them. I was just thinking that vertical farming is like, I guess, one of the parts of agriculture that gets the most tech enthusiasm these days. And so I just didn't want them to be singled out or like ruled out of whatever plans we decide to do in ROS agriculture.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. So, can you give an example of the type of robots that they're using? Is it like XYZ Cartesian robots, or actually mobile-based stuff with no manipulation?
It really depends. What I'm working on is mostly like Cartesian robots, like kind of like a 3D printer attached to the roof of a greenhouse, and then like that can go pick a bunch of different tools and like do operations with them. So it's like pretty close to some other industrial applications, I guess. But for vertical farming, they have a lot of other things in mind. I think one thing that's common to everyone is like vision. In general, like being able to like monitor fields one way or another, and then to be able to like just give feedback on like pathologies that can be present, or being able to do some type of like topography, or at least like have an idea of what is the shape of everything you grow, just to be able to detect where there can be issues. And I think that can be more or less generalized to any like indoor, outdoor, vertical, anywhere. And so that's a type of project that I think like could be interesting for us industrial, even if it's like less robot centric and maybe more like computer vision centric. But like basically provide tools, like get companies or like whichever companies will send videos or anything for the montage, like, hey, there is actually something that you guys all need. Let's work on that together.
Yeah, I assume you meant ROS agriculture there. You said ROS industrial, but
oh yeah, I meant ROS agriculture. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So that's good input, and you're right. It does generalize pretty well. It may be good to know that at least on the US side, they're thinking of actually setting up a competition which is vision based. There was one recently actually in the US which was focused exactly on identifying diseases in crops. So it's essentially just a deep learning challenge, obviously. And I don't say just because I don't believe it's important, but it's essentially a deep learning challenge, such as there are many. But that's definitely something that would be of interest to more than just people with giant tractors. So that's good input. Well, we should definitely give the US side some more encouragement to put that competition together and see what potential reusable building blocks could come out of that. That's good input, yeah. So Mika, would you potentially have something to? I mean, it sounds like you're already sort of deep into this stuff, right? So would you potentially have something to present for the next community meeting?
Yeah, I could. I guess like the solution is not like fully like ROS based, and I'm actually like working into getting like basically leverage more of ROS in the solution we're developing, and also we're trying to like advertise the part of ROS that like are compatible or not compatible with our use cases. I can try to put something together, but
yeah, it doesn't need to be completely about ROS, right? I mean, I already know about ROS. So what I'm interested in, at least personally, is to hear the types of problems that people are trying to solve. And it sounds like you have a pretty good grasp of at least part of these problems in particular agricultural context. And that might actually help identify some of the interesting and also not just to us but to outsiders, I would say, challenges that might actually help grow the community a bit.
Yeah, for sure. You meet like monthly, is that right? I'm just trying to figure out a timeline.
If there's sufficient interest, then it's monthly, yes. But it depends a bit because if there are no topics on the agenda, then it doesn't make much sense to start a meeting.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense to me. Well, I'll look into it and I'll just like post on Discourse or anything, like on whatever the next agenda is, if I have something to present, like if I'm available and will have something to present, or if I would do it on the next one. But that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah,
Great,
sure.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we have more frequent attendees, then the meeting will be monthly. Yeah.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, and I understand. Like I attended a meeting, like I don't know, several months ago, and then too many other meetings or anything, and so I didn't get like the opportunity to come back to the ROS Agriculture one, and so I totally understand it's hard to get people to come on a regular basis when there are so many like interleaving working groups in the ROS community.
Yeah.
And I think
I don't know how high it does to attend all of them, but
Yeah, but there are definitely many. So it's not unsurprising. I mean, the ROS Industrial Development Meeting, for instance, is also difficult to get sufficient. Well, not sufficient, but to get a large number of attendees. But you know, it depends a bit. The other working groups in ROS2, for instance, also there are working groups where they have 20 attendees or even 30 sometimes, and there are those that have like 2, including the organizer. So it varies wildly.
Okay,
It's not like this one is particularly sad or anything.
okay, that's good to hear.
No, so I'll stop talking now because I've been dominating a bit. But I think
No.
your idea is very good, Elias. I think it just needs a bit more fleshing out. And ideally, we would be able to also connect to the US side because let's try to at least keep the entire ROS and agriculture community together instead of immediately diverging.
Yes, has the vision competition. You say detecting the disease is the one that Matt mentioned before, and he mention that like the people didn't respond to him or something. Like, did he update any news regarding that? I don't remember.
No, I haven't talked to him about this recently.
No, but not
I'm just
recent.
saying that we should probably increase the priority of setting up something like this because I think the point that Mikael made is actually pretty true.
Okay. No, I'm just thinking that if I miss out, like actually, like Matt is already like this competition has already set up, or it just still in the start phase.
So
nope, we're only starting.
Okay.
So what would you say would be the next practical step?
Who is you?
All for ROS Agriculture. What should we do, or what should we get ready for the next meeting, or?
So what sort of challenge do you have in mind, Elias? I mean, what are you currently working with or on?
On the challenge of my life. No, so I haven't started yet. I worked a bit a few months ago on the vision side. So I worked on what was it again? They wanted in the simulator to simulate plants in a realistic way. So I worked a bit on this. And since we converged a bit to computer vision, I think that computer vision and simulation, that's something worth exploring, maybe, since we all seem to find it interesting.
Okay, so
Yes.
what specifically did you work on? I mean, like really simulating the dynamics of plants or articulated versions of them or the way they look, something like that?
So how they look in gazebo. The idea was to get realistic plants in gazebo. So I had the 3D model of realistic plants and tried to get them the 3D files in gazebo. And then I diverged a bit into is it possible to train a neural network to recognize plants from only synthetic data?
And
I made a video about this. It's actually interesting. Yes.
Yes. So what is the result?
Yes, there are results. I published them on Slack, but I can share them again. There are some results, but I need to test it further because I didn't have a big validation
Data set.
Yes. But the first results were definitely very encouraging.
so this does seem like it sort of goes a bit in the direction of using photorealistic rendering from something like Unreal Sim, for instance, to train neural networks, right?
Yes,
There's quite a bit of literature.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. So there's quite a bit of literature on this. Did you look into that as well?
I quickly went through it. So from what I've seen, it's somehow new, at least to get interesting results. And I didn't look into the agriculture specific, but from the generalistic, it's hard to go from the simulation to the realistic data, and for that you either need a very good augmentation during the training, so to add noise, to change some domain randomization, or you pre-train on the synthetic data and then you transfer the learning on real data, but with just a very small data set. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
But I didn't. I spent some time on it, but not a lot.
So what would be the next step there then? Why did you stop?
Why did I stop? Because I just didn't have time. I had to move and to move out, and so the next step would be to get a good data set and improve the model and see how well we do, and mainly test it and improve it.
So, Mikael, would this be something that would connect to what you're trying to do as well? I mean, you said something about identifying crops based on vision, right? This sounds a bit like that goes in that direction.
Yeah, definitely. That could go along. I don't know if I would have like time in the short term to like work with you on this, Elias, but that's definitely something we are considering for future development. So right now we're doing mostly like mechanical designs, but perception will come in very handy, and this kind of like training to be able to like identify crops, different type of like plants, using either like synthetic or real data would be very, very beneficial.
So, Elias, there was recently, some months ago, some people in ROS Agriculture actually collected a number of data sets, right? Did you also contribute to that, or did you make use of those in some way?
I contributed by sharing a few links.
Okay, and so the links that you already shared are the ones that were actually sort of found as a result of that effort. They did not contain anything that you could use.
I didn't look deep enough.
Okay, so that may be one potential source of better data sets then, right?
Mm-hmm.
The data set working group. I don't know, like Elias. After, I don't know, March or April, was there any other meeting, or just
No, even before, someone was planned to present the results, and he didn't show up, and no one gave any news, which is sad.
So it just the whole working group just stopped, like, I don't know, like during the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah,
So there's no progress after as well.
No, I mean we still have the file and it has some links. It's not empty, but yes, since March, not any progress.
Yeah,
But that working group was mostly led by 2 guys from Sundance Robotics, right? If I remember correctly.
Pedro.
So I can certainly understand that they might have other things to worry about in Corona times. So I wouldn't necessarily sort of think bad of it in that respect. But
Yeah.
what I was trying to go into, or basically trying to get to, is maybe picking up that computer vision aspect, or the plant identification, or using synthetic data to train real data sets, might be a topic that you could continue with in EOS, because it does generalize pretty well. It is something that I'm not sure, but that could be something to figure out, whether there are any pre-trained networks, for instance, available. Are they already wrapped in nice ROS packages that I could use? Do I have to train all the stuff myself? Ideally, obviously, as a stupid user, I would like to just download whatever you've created and start using it. So that immediately solves a problem, right? I mean, if I want to do what Mikael is now doing, he is focusing on the mechanical designs, or at least the people that he's working with. And if someone else has already figured out some of the perception side, then that lowers the bar to entry to do these kind of things, and to also, I would say, actually connect to a community which is working on these kind of things significantly. So to me, it sounds like this could be something you could pick up again and maybe wrap in a nice way, and then see how we can track people using that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
I think, Elias, it would be good that you at least, I don't know, just summarize whatever you have done, and also like the video you have made, and you post this topic on ROS discourse. I mean, to make some noise, and maybe some people who already have have some experience regarding these topics can also join. I mean, otherwise, no one would know that what you have done, and it's difficult for you to only work alone.
that was a bit. Yeah. Okay, I will. That's a good.
So,
idea.
and additionally, I would say we would also be interested, because Karen now has sort of a nice chunk of functionality in Farming Simulator. Farming Simulator also has plants, and right now I wouldn't know what sort of plants, because I can't actually recognize them. So we're now at a point. We're now at a point where we would actually have. Well, I mean, we're now at the point where we have the same problems as a physical, like a real life farmer, right? I mean, I have a vehicle I can sort of control. I have a bunch of sensor data coming out of it. I can steer it to a certain point in space. But now I need to figure out what's surrounding me. So the infrastructure that you just described could definitely be interesting to couple to something like Farm Sim as well. And that would immediately make us users of whatever you're doing, and potentially also contributors.
Okay.
Yes.
Mikael, one final question by me, because we're almost at the end of the meeting, I would say. You said something about mostly focusing on mechanical design. Do you use any kind of simulation right now? So would it be possible, for instance, to maybe put together a simulation, not of whatever you're specifically creating, but sort of a general simulation of a vertical farm, for instance, or a small farm which uses the same type of robots?
So right now, I would say no, unfortunately, mostly because most of the design that's being done is really like basically studying agricultural tools that exist and how we can adapt them to interface them with our robots. And so most of these are not don't have convenient simulated models, and so we are more building stuff and testing it in a small scope, like prototyping. And so we don't leverage simulation much right now. So there is nothing I have handy.
Do you think there's value in simulating something like that?
Well, I think simulating mechanical tools is always valuable. Simulating the operation of the tools on the ground gets into like areas where people like designing those tools are not very familiar with. And I don't know, like actually I would be very interested in like knowing more about your simulator, but like how do you simulate like the soil? How do you simulate like these kind of things are like not solid elements, like not solid discrete elements, but like this kind of like bunch of small things that interact together. But one thing, yeah, I have to think of like what I could bring, except like some time to look at the perception stuff with you. I'm exploring all the like basically big works I'm gonna have to do this year, and I'm hoping that when I'm bringing more people on board, including interns, I can make them work on stuff that's not only valuable to us but valuable to robotics in agriculture in general. And right now, the first thing that came to mind was perception, but maybe there could be other things. But right now, most of the tools we're designing are pretty specific to our robots, so I'm not sure there is a big value for the community.
And what about motion planning for? Do you see big differences between motion planning for industrial use cases with XYZ robots compared to the stuff that you're looking into?
Well, not really. I think like most of it can be reused and shared, and I think that maybe also another challenge for like this type of working group, which is mostly like how to connect to other consortia and like the other things that are out there that can be applied to agriculture. For our robot, like our main blocker right now is like the fact that ROS is based on URDF, and we have a robot that's changing form all the time, changing shape. But otherwise, for motion planning, I think it's like mostly the same thing as long as like you have like a decent perception. So you're detecting like different type of obstacles that maybe like they're not like, I don't know, brick walls. But otherwise, like I think motion planning would be like pretty similar to what you can already do with Move It and other like other frameworks that are out there.
So you said it's changing shape all the time. How does it change shape? I mean, does it? Are you talking about end effectors, for instance, or?
Yeah, it's mostly end effectors here.
Okay. So have you looked at Tesseract at all? Because that has inherent capability of runtime changes.
No, that's actually like my next step. It's on my list of things to check out. Because I've seen a couple of presentations of it, and I'm excited about it, but didn't have time yet.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, if you say it changes shape, that makes my imagination basically sort of go wild, right? But if it's just in air quotes changing end effectors at runtime, I mean that's not a solved problem necessarily completely, but at least it's not sort of unheard of. So okay.
No, it is definitely a doable thing. It's not too fantasist of a robot. But yeah, like there are a few things with like the basic definition of URDF, like you have like, I don't know, we have robot with like multiple drivers driving the same, like motors driving the same axes, and like non-fully tree-based kinematics and things like that. That can make things a bit harder to describe, but none of these problems haven't been solved by ROS-Industrial in one way or another. So it's really just a matter of like exploring all the stuff that's out there and maybe then advertise how it can be used in another context.
Yeah, exactly. I was just wondering. Okay. Just final comment. I just left a link in the chat, maybe for Ilias also, where they use Unreal Engine to specifically for computer vision. So it may be interesting to get a more synthetic data in on a photorealistic rendering-based way.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think because we're running out of time, so I guess that is for today. And thank you everyone for sharing your like valuable input. I think it's really a good meeting. So we finally
I think so too.
have something really workable to work on. And yeah, I hope that I can all see you next time because otherwise it's gonna be difficult. But I guess I believe on you. You will all join for the next meeting. Yeah. And yes, Ilias.
Maybe
want to say
a
something?
bit more than a month. something
More
like
than a month.
the beginning of December instead of the end of November.
What do you mean?
For
You wanted
next
to
meeting.
make it. I thought it is monthly base.
Okay. Let's do this
Yeah.
then.
Uh,
Okay.
I mean, I would just do the same way, like create a doodle to see what is the most suitable time
Okay.
slot. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, everyone.
Talk to you guys later.
Well,
Bye.
thank you for
Yeah,
organizing.
bye. Yeah,
Yeah,
no
thank
See you
you,
problem.
next
Mika,
time.
for joining.
Thank you,
See you later.
Mika.
Bye.
Bye. Elias, are you still there?
Yes. I was
Could you stop recording?
Oh yes. Sorry, I forgot. I was thinking there